The rain came down in sheets, hammering the roof of Ava's ancient red Corolla as she coasted into the only open garage off the interstate. The engine had been coughing all morning, but now it was fully dead, the car limping like a wounded animal. Into the lot. She pulled up beneath the flickering fluorescent sign that read, Carter's Auto and Body, steam rising from the hood like smoke from a dying fire. Asterisk, she cursed under her breath and slammed the car door shut, stepping into a puddle. With her stilettos. Perfect. Just perfect. The water soaked through to her toes. Her carefully ironed pantsuit clung uncomfortably to her legs. She had an interview in just under 2 hours. Her resume freshly printed and neatly tucked in a leather folder on the passenger seat. And now? She was stranded, soaked, and furious. Asterisk, she looked around the lot. The garage doors were half open, casting a wide rectangle of yellow light into the gray afternoon. Ava could hear the soft hum of a power tool and a faint radio playing classic rock in the background. Asterisk, need a hand? Asterisk, the voice came from the shadows of the garage. She turned to see a man wiping his hands on a grease-stained rag, stepping into view. He looked like someone out of an old Marlboro ad, tall, lean but strong, dark curls damped from sweat or rain, and a shadow of stubble across his jaw. His t-shirt was faded and stretched across his broad chest, his jeans worn and smeared with oil. Asterisk, she raised an eyebrow. Yeah, it just died. I think it's the transmission, or the fuel pump, or something worse. Asterisk, he tilted his head slightly. Let's hope it's not worse. I'm Jack. Let me take a look. Asterisk, before she could respond, he slid beneath the car like it was a dance he'd done 1,000 times. He moved with practiced ease, tools in hand, body low to the ground. She crossed her arms and watched, a little skeptical. Every mechanic she'd ever dealt with had treated her like an idiot with a wallet. And they usually charged like sharks smelled blood. Asterisk, 10 minutes passed. Jack rolled back out, wiped the oil from his face with the same rag, and gave her a crooked grin. Asterisk. Good news. It's not your transmission. Loose clamp on the fuel line. Looks like someone tried to patch it with duct tape. He shook his head with a faint smile. You've got about 10 more years in this baby if you treat her right. Asterisk, Ava blinked. You're serious? Asterisk, dead serious? Asterisk, she hesitated. So ... How much do I owe you? Asterisk, Jack shrugged. Nothing. Asterisk, she frowned. Come on, really. You just crawled under my car in the rain. You at least deserve lunch money. Asterisk, he leaned back against the garage door frame and crossed his arms. Some things you fix because it's the right thing to do. Not everything's a transaction. Asterisk, Ava stared at him. This man didn't make sense. Who turns down free money for doing honest work? Either he was a fool or something else entirely. Asterisk, well ... Thank you. That was unexpected, she said, tucking a strand of wet hair behind her ear. You probably saved my job. Asterisk, he raised an eyebrow. Interview? Asterisk, yeah. Regional PR manager at Adley & Co. Been prepping for weeks. Asterisk, Jack gave a low whistle. Big shot stuff. Asterisk, I'm trying, she said, glancing at her car. This thing's been hanging on by a thread. Maybe it just needed someone to believe in it, he said, voice soft, almost teasing. She rolled her eyes, but she smiled despite herself. That's either the cheesiest thing I've ever heard, or the most honest. Asterisk, I'll take either. Asterisk, they talked for a little while longer, just standing there in the shelter of the garage while the storm poured around them. Jack asked real questions, not shallow, polite ones. He wanted to know about the city she lived in, what kind of books she read on long commutes, what her dream job actually looked like. And he listened. Not the kind of nodding people do when they're waiting for their turn to talk. He heard her. Asterisk she left reluctantly, though she didn't say why. Her car purred like new. Her hands didn't shake at the interview. And for the first time in months, she laughed. 2 weeks later, Ava came back. The Corolla didn't make a single sound this time. No rattling, no stalling. Jack was working under the hood of a pickup when she stepped into the garage, heels clicking against the concrete. Asterisk he looked up, eyes narrowing playfully. Engine trouble? Asterisk no, she sighed, lips curving slightly. Heart trouble. Thought maybe you could take a look. Jack blinked, then laughed, a deep, rich sound that filled the space between them. I've got just the tools. Asterisk from that day on, she kept coming back, sometimes with real car issues. Most times without. They'd sit on overturned paint, cans in the back of the garage, splitting a Coke and talking about everything, politics, dreams, movies that made them cry. Jack told her about the house he was fixing up across town, the garden he'd been growing behind the shop, the mother who raised him and taught him how to use a wrench before he could read. Asterisk one rainy afternoon, she found him hammering out a dent on an old Chevy door. Asterisk, why are you here, Jack? She asked, leaning against the doorway. You could do anything. Be anything. Why a garage? Asterisk he paused. Because I like fixing things. I like seeing broken stuff become whole again. It's honest work. And because people come in thinking their lives are falling apart. But sometimes it's just a loose bolt. A loose bolt they didn't know how to tighten. Asterisk Ava didn't answer. But she watched him longer that day. One night, 3 months later, Ava's phone buzzed. She'd gotten a promotion. Not just the regional manager job, but a director position at the company's headquarters in Chicago. It was everything she had worked for. Asterisk, but when she looked out her apartment window, all she could think of was the garage. The way Jack looked at her like she was more than her resume. The way her world felt less heavy with him in it. Asterisk she showed. Up at the garage before he opened the next morning, holding 2 coffees and her heart in her hands. I got the job, she said. He smiled. That's amazing. So when do you leave? Asterisk, she hesitated. That's the thing. I don't know if I want to. Asterisk Jack looked surprised. Ava, this is your dream. Asterisk she stepped closer. It was. But then I realized, maybe my dream's changing. Maybe it's not just about a corner office and bonuses. Maybe it's about waking up next to someone who makes the world feel lighter. Someone who fixes more than just cars. Asterisk Jack didn't say anything right away. Then he reached for her hand, warm and calloused. Asterisk. You know, he said quietly. Sometimes it's not about fixing broken things. Sometimes it's about building something new. She leaned in, rested her forehead against his. Then let's build, she whispered. Asterisk, and under the soft hum of 1,000 car engines, they began.